Hi, Year 3 and 4, it's Miss Charman here again. I hope you're all well and you've enjoyed your first 2 weeks of home learning. Over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be teaching you your reading, writing, and grammar. I hope you enjoy it. Here's an overview for your learning this week. You might have noticed there's no work set for Friday. This is because it is a bank holiday, but you can still do some work on Purple Mash if you want to. These are your spelling words for this week. Remember, the green spelling words of Mrs. Caudry's spelling group, the orange words of Mrs. Whitley's spelling group, and the red words of my spelling group. Have fun learning them! I've created this model text for you all about koalas because they're my favourite animal. In this model text, it has all the skills and features that you need to include when you're writing non-chronological reports. So what you need to do is you need to pause the video here and you need to read the model text. Your task for today is to look at the model text to help you write down the skills and features which you think need to be included in an effective non-chronological report. The challenge for today is to see if you can magpie any good words or phrases from the model text. I've now put an example on the screen so you can see that there's subheadings in the model text. Because of this, I've highlighted all of the subheadings yellow and I've put the word subheadings in my toolkit. If this helps you, I have sent all of your grown-ups a model text through parent mail, so it might be beneficial for you to print this off and for you to underline the skills and features. Don't worry though if you can't do this because I'll be putting an example of a highlighted document at the end of this lesson. Hi Year 3 and 4. Have a look at the different words which I have highlighted on the screen. Each colour stands for a different skill or feature that you need to include in non-chronological reports. Pause the screen for a second. Can you work out what each of the skill or features are by looking at the different colours? For example, look at the blue words. What do you think they all have in common? Or look at the grey words. What do they all have in common? You might now want to add some more ideas to your toolkit. I'm now going to explain to you some more information about non-chronological reports. Non-chronological reports don't have to be read in any order. They aim to give us information on a topic and they're really useful for studying things we don't know a lot about. So I'm sure you've now learned lots of things about koalas, which hopefully you didn't know already. As you can see, there's paragraphs in the non-chronological reports alongside an introduction, a main body and a final paragraph. As you can see in the toolbox, non-chronological reports contain features and skills which we need to include to make sure they're effective. I've colour-coded the skills and features on the model text. For example, I've colour-coded the subheadings in yellow. I've colour-coded an example of some of my sentence starters in grey. And I've colour-coded technical vocabulary in dark blue. You might want to add some more skills in your toolbox now and have a go at magpieing any good words or phrases from the model text. I've put some examples on the screen to help you. Hi, you're free for arriving to Miss Charman's quiz. I'm going to start with question 1. What is a homophone? Is it A, a word that is spelt the same as another word that has a different meaning? Is it B, a word which has a suffix? Or is it C, tricky words which sound the same but have different meanings? It's now time for question 2. What is another word for speech marks? Is it A, inverted commas, B, speech commas, or C, inverted apostrophes? It's now time for question 3. How can we make sure our writing is cohesive? Remember, cohesive means it flows. Is it A, use a range of expanded noun phrases? B, use a range of sentence starters, pronouns and paragraphs? Or C, use paragraphs and capital letters? Welcome to question 4. The passage below has an error in it. How should it be written? There are no seats anywhere. You should have come earlier. Is it A, there are no seats at all anywhere? You should have come earlier to cinema. B, there are 0 seats anywhere. You should have come earlier. Or C, there are no seats anywhere. You should have come earlier. Now time for your final question of the quiz. How can we edit and up-level our writing? Is it A, read or work out loud? Check spelling, punctuation and grammar and check it makes sense. B, read or work out loud and check the spelling errors. Or C, read or work in our head and see if it makes sense. Thank you for joining in my quiz. Your task for today is to create a text map for the model text that we looked at yesterday. We've all done lots of text maps together in class, both in Year 3 and Year 4. Your text map will be made up of quick drawings to represent the model text. So there's an example on the screen now. Year 4, I know you know this already, but make sure you're listening carefully so you can remember what Kung Fu punctuation is. When we're retelling the model text using our actions, we can use Kung Fu punctuation to help us remember what punctuation is in the model text. So whenever you see a capital letter, put your hands over your head like on the screen and say hi-ya for each action. Whenever you see a full stop, you do a forward punch, obviously making sure you're being careful and no one's in front of you. And again, you say hi-ya for each action. So test that out now. Put your hands over your head for the capital letter, making sure you're also saying hiya. And then have a go again at doing the forward punch for the full stop. Have a go at punctuating the sentence on the screen with Kung Fu punctuation. I will read it out now for you. And whenever you see a capital letter or a full stop, make sure you're doing the Kung Fu punctuation actions. My name is Miss Charman. Full stop. Your task for today is to read out the model text that we've been looking at this week using words and actions. So for example, for the title, I would do my Kung Fu punctuation, so I go hiya, because koalas has a capital letter. I say the word koalas whilst making ears with my hands to represent koalas. I then move on to the introduction. Remember, the introduction is to hook in the reader. And I then retell the introduction using the words in the model text alongside my new actions. In this lesson, you will hopefully have time to internalise the introduction and then the paragraph under the introduction all about the appearance of different koalas. This will probably take you about half an hour, but if you have more time you can then learn the rest of the model text if you want to, but don't worry if you don't have time. I hope you have fun internalising the model text, and make sure you share with your teacher what different actions you've been using to represent the different words. I'm now going to teach you all about subordinate clauses. Clauses are groups of words which are built around a verb. There are different types of clauses. Imagine the chicken on the screen is the main clause. The main clause makes sense all by itself. Here is an example of a main clause. The chicken sat on her eggs. Subordinate clauses then are clauses that tell us more about the main clause. Imagine the chick is the subordinate clause. The subordinate clause needs a main clause. So in my example of the chick is the subordinate clause because it relies on the big mother chicken, which is the main clause. So for example, the sentence, the chicken sat on her eggs as she wanted to protect them, has a main clause and a subordinate clause. So the main clause is the chicken sat on her eggs because it makes sense by itself. And I've then used a subordinating conjunction to the word as, and then I've said as she wanted to protect them. The word wasabi is now on your screen. Wasabi is an acronym, and each letter stands for a subordinated conjunction that you can use to create your subordinate clauses. The W stands for while, the A stands for after, the S stands for since, the A stands for as, the B stands for before, and the I stands for if. Have a look at the screen. Can you identify the subordinate conjunction alongside the subordinate clause? As you might have noticed, you can create your subordinate clauses at the beginning of your sentence or towards the end. For example, the main clause in both of my sentences is the lion stalked her prey, but both sentences have a subordinate clause, although one is at the beginning of the sentence and one is at the end. I'm now going to explain to you your task for today. The mild task is to match the subordinate clauses to the main clauses. For example, if you eat all your delicious dinner, you can have some ice cream. The spicy task is to write a sentence. You can write about anything you want to, and include the subordinated conjunctions in the picture below. For example, as she was hungry, Miss Charman decided to cook some pasta. The hot task for today is to write a paragraph. Again, you can choose what you want to write about, and you need to include the subordinated conjunctions on the screen to make as many subordinate clauses as you can. Make sure you're as creative as you can, and you might try and include some of your other writing skills. For example, expanded noun phrases or fronted adverbials. Have fun, and I can't wait to see how wasabi has spiced up all of your writing. Make sure you send me your work on Purple Mash. Hi Year 3 and 4, these are your spelling words for this week. Remember, the green words are for Mrs. Caudry's spelling group, the orange words are for Mrs. Whitley's spelling group, and the red words are for my spelling group. Today you'll be using your summarising skills. This means putting the text into your own words and making sure you avoid copying the text. Make sure you ask yourself if you've included all the important points. You'll now need to summarise the information on the screen. This is all about the Anglo-Saxons. If you would prefer, you can conduct your own research. This might be particularly helpful if you have already created an Anglo-Saxon double-page spread. This lesson can also count as one of your topic lessons for this week. Have fun summarising! It would be useful if you made your notes under subheadings. You may want to use the ones below, so you might want to say who were the Anglo-Saxons, Saxon village and housing, food and drink, religion, and clothes and jewellery. This is a text for children who are in the mild English group. This is the text for children who are in the spicy, spicy plus or hot English groups. Today you'll be planning your non-chronological reports all about the Anglo-Saxons. Make sure you think carefully about how you can use the model text to help you, and make sure you look at your toolkits. I've put some technical vocabulary on the screen for you, and I've put some good sentence starters which you might use in your non-chronological report. Have fun planning! You can choose how you lay out your plan, but I've put an example on the screen. I've used the boxing up method. This means I've drawn a table and I've put some brief ideas for each paragraph that I'm going to be writing. For example, my first paragraph is going to be about who the Anglo-Saxons were, and I'm hooking in the reader by using the words interestingly and surprisingly. I'm also going to include pronouns, so I've put that in my plan, and I've put some facts as well. If you don't want to write it in this way, you can do a mind map, so we've done them in class, or you can lay it out in any format you want to, but make sure it's nice and clear, as this will help you tomorrow when you're writing your report. You have today and tomorrow to write your non-chronological report all about the Anglo-Saxons. Make sure you think carefully about how you'll present your work, make sure you use a double page, and also what skills and features you need to include in your writing. I've put some examples on the screen of double page spreads. This is how you could lay out your work if you want to. You might want to ask yourself these questions when you're editing your work. For example, have you included an introduction? Have you used paragraphs? Have you used a range of sentence starters? Have you used technical vocabulary? Have you used subheadings? Could you research some additional information? And have you included all the skills and features from my toolkit? Today we'll be using our inference alongside our retrieval skills in our reading lesson. As we're learning about the Anglo-Saxons this term, we'll be reading extracts from Beowulf. There are many versions of this poem, but we'll be looking at the Michael Morpurgo version. It is translated from the Anglo-Saxon period. If you would be interested in hearing me read Beowulf, please email me or Mrs. Whitley through Purple Mash, and then I will know if there's enough children who would be interested in me reading this book, and I'll upload it onto YouTube. You now need to read the passage on the screen and answer the questions. Make sure you use your inference and your retrieval skills. I'm now going to read you the passage. Make sure you're listening carefully. But there was another listener. Outside the walls of Heorot, in the dim and dark, there stalked an enemy. From hell itself, the monster Grendel, sword enemy of God and men alike, a beast born of evil and shame. He heard that wondrous story of God's good creation, and because it was good, it was hateful to his ears. He heard the sweet music of the harp, and afterwards the joyous laughter echoing through the hall, as the mead horn was passed around. Nothing had ever so enraged this beast as night after night he had to listen to all this happiness and harmony. It was more than his evil heart could bear. These are the answers for your work that you've completed today. You'll need to pause the screen here so you can mark your work. On year 3 and 4, you've now finished your 4th week of English at home. Don't forget to upload your work on Purple Mash so me and Mrs. Whitley can see all the fabulous things you've been getting up to. Take care!